reading. And your competition are victims. I cannot tell you how many, that's a great one, your extreme ownership. Can't tell you how many trainers I come across who say they're burned out or they're at a fork and they're frustrated with their training career. And I ask them, when was the last time you read a book? And they say, I don't have time. That's why you're frustrated. You make time for it. So it's like those that are frustrated that their retirement account isn't as big as they like it to be. I don't have time. Well, you make time. You make it a priority. You got to have a list and say, okay, what is my long-term goal here? I got into this industry to help people. Yeah, but I also need to, water my brain and make sure that I'm getting creative ideas and innovative things that will help inspire me to do more. And so cannot stress enough the importance of reading. Well, I posted in the story today. I'll get better at doing this per week, the muscle of the day. So what muscle do we have here? Obviously it says at the bottom, but can you guys recognize that? What is it?
Trap.
Good. So the trapezius, trapezoid, when you make the connection on the other side, it's almost like a star. And we're going to have one muscle or three muscles. One muscle, three parts, or three muscles. So it's one muscle, but then there's three regions. Very similar to the pectoralis major, very similar to the deltoid. Yep, good job. Don't confuse that with like the quadriceps, which is four muscles. The trapezius is one long muscle. It lines the spinal column. So what's the upper part of the skull called? Or sorry, the neck. What are these bones called? Anyone?
Is it the C, cervical?
Good. So you'll see right here. Are we seeing this? Yeah. We have the upper trapezius begins on the external occipital protuberance and spinious process of all cervical vertebrae. I hope that scares you, because if it scares you, that means you got to get into your anatomy. So you just type in occipital protuberance. Go back to the Google machine. And this is what trainers will not do. This is how you're going to be different. So then you're going to get a picture of the skull, and you're just going to see it's this little notch on the back of your head. And you can see these little, they're called sutures. When you go to the doc for stitches, they'll give you sutures. So we have this part of the bone on the back. It's the occipital bone. The superior ones, what are these called? My arms, they look fucking jacked. You hold us all the day today. Come on, I'll keep on doing this until you guys tell me the name. We get it?
I would say do it now before David comes on.
I think my arms are bigger than Dave's. Parietal. Parietal, there's two of them. Here, when you have a headache, what do you rub?
Temples.
Temples. You have your temporalis muscle. That's a muscle that you can just, when you squeeze your masseter muscle, which is the mandible, maxilla, mandible, and then you have this muscle right here on the lateral part, which would go right here on that portion on top of the temporal bones. So this is actually kind of cool because these are cadaver skeletons. You can see the sutures in those. You can see the teeth, the dentures. This is an actual skeletal. So they have this spinal column coming through there. This would be a inferior view taking a photo superiorly. And so then you go back to the anatomy portion, and then you have where it inserts the lateral third of the clavicle, acromion of the scapula. So again, you don't know what that means, so you just highlight it. I put this into the Patreon too. So you have the humerus, bicipital groove, scapula, inferior angle, and you're going to see up there. It's actually hard to see. Let's go here. Acromial acromion, coracoid process. If your AC joint, acromio clavicular joint will hit right there. I like this one because it really gets into, so the subscapular fossa. So this is looking at the inside. So like if you were to go through my chest, that's what we're looking at. You have the superior angle, inferior angle, lateral border. And then it's going to insert right there at the very, pretty much right there, the acromion. So then when you take a look at the middle portion, where are we? Lost it. There we go. The middle is C7 through T3. So it's the last part of your skull down to the middle part of the back, spine of the scapula. T4 through T12. So it goes all the way down to the mid part, like right below your rib cage, the mid part. So your traps are a big ass muscle. It starts at the top of your skull, the end of your thoracic region. We have 12 thoracic bones. And it's going to spine out and it's going to insert into the root, the spine, and the acromion of the scapula. It does pretty much these three things: elevation, upward rotation, retraction, depression. So because of the insertion of the middle part of the trap, you're not going to get a lot of upward rotation with the middle trap. So because it just feels like this, the mid trap is going to be really good at retracting. So mid back. So like when people will say, and which is, I don't know how you want to classify it, but it's, you know, I would say maybe this to here, like the lats technically would be like low back. Mid back would be, you know, your lower traps and middle traps, and then your upper back would be your traps. People don't classify it like that. They just say, you know, mid back being just your traps or rhomboids. So I like this photo because you can see when you remove the trapezius on the right hand side, you'll have the rhomboid major, which is larger than the rhomboid minor. You have the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, teres minor. These are called your serratus posterior muscles. You're going to have your lats. You're going to have the teres major, which is the big one that helps with the lats. Teres minor, posterior deltoid. You'll have some small. If I can put it up, I can't pull this one up. There we go. That's kind of cool. So you're gonna have different type of scalenes and splenius muscles over here. You got a bunch of shit going on. You got your levator scapula. It's just kind of fascinating to look, because when you really look closely at it like this with these fibers and everything, you're gonna see terms like lumbar V, just means lumbar vertebrae. Fascia, you have this connective tissue. It's connecting the muscle into the white stuff. The white stuff just indicates it lacks blood flow. And you're gonna get into your hip anatomy with the ilium, the crest, sacrum down here. Just a more, I can't, this is my 2 cents. Another trainer is going to tell you their own thing, but I just found some of the best trainers that I've come across are the ones that really get into this stuff, because what it does, it alleviates a lot of that anxiety around the whole imposter syndrome. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not good enough. I need more certs. Certs don't do shit. When you understand this, you have a really good idea of what the body's capable of doing. And so when that body's in front of you, another organism, you're able to listen, ask good questions. You don't show off, which I think is really important. I'm gonna go off on a tangent real quick, my specialty. And I was talking to a gym owner yesterday as we're trying to move into the South and get more gyms going. And we were going over some terms on an agreement that we're hoping to come to fruition here very shortly. Big announcements at our August 20th 10-year anniversary. That's when we're going to launch some big news. That's going to be in Los Angeles, our 3-day seminar, but it'll also be online too. But we were talking about some trainers that he has independently at his spot. And he was discussing his frustration / just, I don't believe in the way that this guy trains, which is fine, but the guy was really big into correctives. You're going to come across that. You're going to have mobility / functional / corrective specialists. And these dudes, it's usually dudes, are really high on their chain because they feel like entitled, because they they know a lot about movement, and they know, I say this because it's like they think they do, but they actually don't. Because if you really are a movement specialist or corrective exercise specialist, you don't call yourself that. You just call yourself a trainer. Trainers should know that the fundamentals of movement begin with anatomy. Muscles move joints, the brain moves the muscle together. That's your system. So when you really understand this stuff, that's the thing that I think frustrates me, is not frustrated. It's not the trainers themselves. It's just the industry as a whole. People seek these acronyms, corrective exercise, functional specialist, whatever it is. But all it really is just understanding anatomy. A corrective exercise for someone that has more of an anterior tilt here is just understanding why this is in this position, the anatomy of the glenohumeral joint, what is being stretched. The fact that it's being stretched and lengthened is probably an indication that it's not being engaged much by training, because we do a lot of neutral stuff when we pull. So by doing things that are going to be more pronated and working that mid-back, band pull aparts, osseys, evening out the dysfunction on the anterior side, we fixed it. Oh my God, I'm a corrective exercise specialist. No, I just fucking know my anatomy. So when you can take a look at how someone's moving, and if there's something off, you give them an exercise. Knee valgus, corrective exercise 101, squat better. Upper cross syndrome, corrective exercise, you got to stretch and just get more back work in. Do it pronated. Get stronger in your mid-back. Can you do 10 pull-ups? No? Start doing them. Once you can get 10 pull-ups, I bet you your back issues will probably be fixed up. Your knee valgus, can you squat your body weight for 10 reps? Work on that. Once you can do that, you're probably going to fix your knee valgus. So people want to correct and fix. Anywho, going back to the story about the guy, he was saying this trainer is really frustrating because he would spend the whole hour doing corrective exercise with his clients. He's charging $100 an hour. Your clients will drink the punch in the beginning, like, oh yeah, I'm hurt, I'm dysfunctional. The trainer just told me that I need this corrective stuff. But then after 10, 12, sometimes even longer sessions, are like, okay, I'm really good at band pull aparts, but I'm not that much stronger. I've fixed my posture, but I don't have much to prove. I still can't even do a fucking push-up, can't do a pull-up, haven't even graduated to squats yet because I'm so delicate and fragile. So that's where a lot of frustration comes from, is people will try to separate themselves from the saturated market and get these specialties, and then they get this opposite of the that complex that I just said. I always forget it. Inferiority complex. It's imposter syndrome. Now it's the opposite, where now you think you're better than everyone because you have these acronyms. So when you just take a step back and you go, okay, what does the average trainer not know? Here's a fun little test for you. In my book, got to toot my own horn, I wrote a quiz I think all trainers should know. That is the same quiz that I developed. And the reason I put it in there is because I developed it for this gym. The gym wanted to hire better trainers. They said, if you were to design a quiz for new, not even new trainers coming in, what would that look like? So I wrote out 10 questions, and they were not NASM-esque. Which are the following, A, B, C, or D? They're all open-ended. Can you tell me the 17 muscles? Can you tell me the movement patterns? Write out a program for a beginner with proper progressions and regressions. What's the overload principle? What's the size principle? Can you tell me the difference between a type 1 and type 2 muscle fiber? Why is a girl not going to get big and bulky typically? And there's a couple other questions in it. They interviewed 44 people at their gym, 44. 3 of them passed the test with 7 or more. 3 out of the 44. Of the 3, when they actually watched them program, they found 1 who was accepted, that they thought was acceptable. So basically 50. So it means 2 out of 100 are going to legitimately be decent. I'm not even talking about like personality, being able to sign people up. I'm just talking about the physio side of stuff. 41 failed. There's a significant that came in, just said, I don't know this stuff. Not even close. Like you're a trainer with 10 years experience. You can't even tell me basic anatomy. That's what's scary about our industry. People will, oh, I got certified a long time ago, but I've been training for 4 years. Those are the scariest people to me, because what they do is they try to find more validation through certs and experience. Who is your mentor? Who's guiding you? That's the biggest thing our industry needs. You need to be in front of someone who has a proven track record, like a Tony Jim. Of course, the last night on the call, we did a stroke survivor program, which I'll post. I'm putting it on YouTube, so that's why it's taking a little longer. So you'll be able to watch that video. But one of the guys who hopped, actually, that was the call with Danny that he hopped on, Juwan. He's in Boston and he's working with Tony Jemicourt. Juwan is going to be so far ahead of everyone else just because of the hours spent with Tony. Whereas you take Juwan B, which goes the typical route of training, gets certified, goes to a gym, starts training more, and 3-4 years later, he's now an expert. Not once has anyone ever told him, why are you doing this? Is there a particular reason why you put that in your program? How would you change it up for this type of person? No, there's no checks and balances. It's just you're out there by yourself. It's the fucking sheep following sheep and the blind following the blind. And it's scary. So when you take a step back and you get into your anatomy, that's what really builds you up. And you're like, no, actually, I don't need to go get 9 other certifications. I can tell you what the traps do. If a client comes in and I can look at them and they have some pain, I can ask some deeper questions. I can see how they move. I can look at a push-up. I can look at a squat, see where the dysfunction lies. Then provide a solution for that without scaring them. Client comes in, they have shoulder pain. Awesome. I'm going to help you. That's what I say. I don't look at them as, oh, I'm so sorry. No, it must suck. I've been in pain. Pain sucks. We're going to help you move better. And here's the funny thing. When you get stronger, you move better. And as you continue to progressively overload, your confidence goes up, your barrier for pain goes down. So I cannot stress enough to get into your anatomy. If this was a foreign muscle to you, start there, get the 17. After the 17, get into the actions, 9 of the scapula, 8 of the humerus. After the 17, then get into the individual muscles like this. What does the trapezius do? Where is it? Palpate it. Work with other people. If you have someone that you can do anatomy with, it's like, maybe inappropriate, but I always laugh at that. What was it, Billy Madison, when he was learning how to, like, 4th grade, and he gets the answer right, and Chris Farley takes his shirt off. It's always funny, but it's like, I'm talking about practicing other people. It's like, what is a trapeze? Hopefully this doesn't sound pervy, but I like working with girls with the trapezius because they'll wear sports bras. And you can typically see it. Like I was doing this in class the other day with Lexa. Like you can just check the whole thing out. It's like, oh, there's your scapula. I was back in there getting under her scapula, feeling her subscapula. You can really look at that. Dudes, if you're okay, like last night, I think it was Yvonne, took his shirt off and Megan was showing some cool stuff with his scaps. That's awesome. You can see so much cool stuff when you look at that. You can look at dysfunction. Let's see if I have that video. And if you get in here, Dave, just let me know. Just hop on. Let's see where got that video. If you have any questions to ask right now, I'm gonna try to find this. Shoot. Not anything. Life, love, happiness, whatever. Was it here? Nope. Videos. Actually, I think it was under my Creeper Tuesdays. Yeah, I got a thing on my laptop for Creeper Tuesdays. There we go. I call it Creeper Tuesdays because I have a special gift of filming people when they're working out and not being actually creepy. If you see any trainers doing some stupid shit, try to film them, and then we can bring it into class. I thought I had. Oh, here we go. See, this one works. Oh, you guys get to check out the hunk with my hair. Ooh, are you guys in for a treat today? One of the many benefits of showing up, you get old school videos. Ready? This was like a year and a half length hair right there. Can you guys see this around?
Long hair, Chris.
A little smaller then. I was trying to be a little LA boy, so I was probably like 190. I didn't feel that. Okay, so you're not gonna. I don't think you get volume on this. Okay, so this is a YouTube that I'm doing. These are my favorite shorts I ever found at Lulu. I love the plaid ones, but they stopped doing them. Probably tell you that. So I want you to take a look. So this is a movement screen that you can do. So I'm going over, someone has shoulder pain. I'm going to first check to see if they can touch behind. That's one of the first things that I'll do. Like I'll say, no, I like this top because you can really see how the scapulas move. So I screen her there. She's good. As long as you can get your fist between. So if she was like this, that's still okay. It's not the end of the world. It's when it's like you're not even close. Like your bottom one's here and your top one's there. It's like significant. That's a little, all right, we got to work on that. And you can work on that by just stretching for a couple minutes a day, like holding this, get a towel for a minute or two. So that's one of the first things I'll do with the screen. So now what I'm going to do is movements. You can do a sagittal test, which we've taught you. You put your butt on the wall, posterior tilt, tuck her down. You should be able to get your thumbs to touch. That's a sagittal test looking at the lats. And if we can't get there, if we have an arch, there's probably some type of dysfunction in the lats, meaning that they're just pulling. So like if you try to get up there and you get this crazy arch, that means that my lats are restricting this movement. So do some thoracic mobility, get into some foam rolling, whatever. But now I'm going to look at frontal. So when she comes up, what is the action of the humerus right there? What is that called? What is the action of the humerus?
Extension?
Nope. That.
Abduction.
Abduction. What is the scapula doing?
Is it retracting a little bit?
No, this would be
No.
retraction.
Yeah, retraction.
Upward rotation.
Very good. There you go. Dave hopped
There
in. I
we
like
go.
Dave. We're just going to finish this up real quick and then you're ready to go. So we got upward rotation. So when the humerus abducts in juxtaposition, so together, the scapula is going to upwardly rotate. So this is a really cool test because what would you guys say is the problem? If I told you I'm going to sit down really, really slow, and this is my sit. Then I just drop. What would you say is what's going on there?
Strength.
Strength of what?
Yeah. Are you losing strength in your hamstrings to just stop?
So it's not, so we have to then take a step back and identify what strength is. The definition of strength
Yeah.
is the ability of the nervous system, strength. The ability of the internal system to overcome an external stimuli. So I'm stronger than my phone when I flex. If I'm controlling this down and it just drops, that means I don't have the strength to control this neurologically, which is a muscle and nerve thing. So my nervous system can't control that. So if I sit down slow, my glutes should be able to support that. But when I drop fast, it means I lack the neurological control of the glutes to control that eccentric descent. So the same can be shown, and I like that example because it's a little more complicated when we look at the shoulder because it's a 3D. So if I'm up here, my upper traps, my lower traps, my serratus are working up. Now when I come down, just like the glutes, if I don't have control and I have a drop, that means that the upper traps, the serratus, and the lower traps cannot do their job. Now, if we were to make a hierarchy, which one of those three is the strongest, typically? Upper trap, lower trap, serratus.
I'm gonna guess upper.
Upper traps, definitely. Those are the ones that are usually the strongest. Then I would say number 2 would be the lower and the serratus. So watch what happens when she does this. Watch this corner right here. You see how it just kind of slipped? That slow, I can't zoom in, can I? So I'm getting into her muscles there. We're doing a little stretch. So this is working on depression. This is working just all those muscles, trying to do different exercises, band pull aparts there. So essentially it's identifying movement impairment and then providing a solution for that dysfunction. So how I would train, I'm not going to spend an hour doing correctives. I can do 3 things, really, 4 things. 1, do it before the workout. 2, do it after the workout. 3, do it as an accessory. 4, do it as homework. That's how I'm going to help her out. So if she did have shoulder pain, I will start at every session. Bam, pull apart, super, super slow, eccentric. Protract it off, boom. And then we're going to do that for 5, 8 reps, and then we're going to get into the workout. So that's why we should be getting into anatomy. But who cares about anatomy when we got this big hunk over here? Thank you for showing up there, Dave.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
And I like how you're all suited up. You got your Equinox shirt on.
Well, I just got back from a session, so I didn't have time to change.
Nice. So are you guys still doing for a while it was blue, but have you guys kind of, I feel like you almost upgrade like to like a grayish color for like the prospecting?
Yeah, it's those blue shirts were hideous. Now we got a little bit better of a quality shirt. It's a gray shirt now. Yeah, so it's very similar to this, just light gray.
And what that indicates to the members and the staff at Equinox is you're prospecting. When you prospect, you go out there, talk to people, and that's essentially how Dave and I met. I remember when I had that long hair, I was getting some water, and I think I was wearing a Texas shirt, and he was just like, "You from Texas?" I'm like, "Motherfucker, he has a cool accent." God dang it. And, we just start chatting a little bit, and next thing you know, what was that, 6 years, maybe 5 years?
Yeah, about 4.5, yeah.
And now look at us today. I think it's such a cool story because there's a good little chunk of the book that I talk about with Dave, because in that gym, it's no offense to Equinox, no offense to Santa Monica, but I don't know what it is about trainers that walk around with a stick up their ass, guys and girls. I would literally walk around to trainers at Santa Monica and I go, "Hey," stare at me, and I'm like, I don't know if it was my long hair or what, but they just weren't friendly. Yeah. So what does that do for you as a trainer? What if my fiance or my wife or my boyfriend or girlfriend, whatever, what if they need a trainer? We can't look at everyone as, oh, they don't need a trainer or they don't have enough, they're younger, whatever. You got to look at every person in the gym as an opportunity. And when you're just a nice person, like Dave is, genuine, that's what you get when you get folks from the South. He just wanted to have a conversation. That first session, he didn't pitch me training. We just talked. And the second time we talked and we talked and we talked and we just got to know each other. And we talked shit, and he liked LSU, I liked Texas, and we're just bonding. And I remember numerous times people would ask me in the gym, in the steam room, because I love the steam room, trainers here. I'm like, "Yeah, you should check out Dave. Check out Dave." I don't know if it really transpired into clients like referrals, but I was talking good about him, where I wasn't talking bad about the other trainers, but he was just on the top of my mind.
Yeah. And Chris, I watched that the interview you did with Carlos, who just got hired on that Miracle Mile, and I saw the thing that he said about somebody even posted a review about Miracle Mile, saying that they wish that their trainers would kind of go up and talk to them more rather than just kind of like standing around like looking at them awkwardly. I saw that he said that too. So thankfully it wasn't just Santa Monica.
Yeah, I think it's just trainers in general. So yeah. The big four, we got lower end, in my opinion, 24 and LA Fitness, but the top gyms, Lifetime and Equinox. And Dave's a great example because